Hello, hello, hello. We have a new piece of content from Mr. Undead Chronic here over the Christmas season. It's an important topic, distinguishing between the red pill and traditional conservatives and why that matters. I would self identify as someone who leans more red pill than I do conservative, even though I am religious. And we're going to see in this video why that is, why I don't side with the Matt Walshes and the Michael Knowles a lot of the time. Because they make many mistakes, like Chronic is going to point out, I'm sure. So let's get right into it. This is my unfettered reaction. I've not seen this video before. It's not scripted. You're getting my thoughts in real time. So let's get into it.
Brett Cooper, recent refugee from the Daily Wire, known right-wing conservative tradcon neo-feminist. Well, I can't call her neo-feminist. She's a neocon, a traditional neocon, who is a big fan of traditional American corporate Christianity and first, second, and third wave feminism. This is Brett Cooper. Look it, love it, learn it. Look at that nose. Looks kind of sweaty in there. But she sat down for this interview.
I just want to point off right off the bat that there's tons of contradictions with just this single frame here. First off, we have women preaching and lecturing to men, which is anything but traditional. Women should not be running their own media channel, telling millions of followers, creepy dudes in their comment section, putting themselves out in front of millions of people, expressing, their opinions, telling men what to do, how to think, or even telling women, how to think. So there's a problem there. Second of all, look at this. Look at the fucking shoulders on this. That's not traditional. It's anything but traditional. Look how low. I can't tell. I think that is a cut. I think that's a cut on her shirt. Very low. Way too much. Too much. She's barely even having her shoulders covered. So, I'm creepy if I notice that, but it just points out that these people aren't actually traditional. Like they say, oh, traditional this, traditional that. But 20 years ago, if you were in a church wearing something like this, you'd have all these old women, all these actually traditional, old ladies in the church, and they'd be kind of freaking out, getting mad at you. So I think that's important to point out right off the bat.
And it's titled Brett Cooper's Controversial Take on Modern Men. Let's hear it.
To being canceled by my own audience that I ever have been was I did an episode back in, I think it was 2020, like end of 2020, about the problems with young men in our current society. And in looking back, I don't think I would change much about the episode, but maybe my tone could have been a bit different. But it was basically breaking down all the stats about young men, about the fact that young men are increasingly not getting driver's licenses. They're not moving out of their parents' homes. They're not getting jobs. They're, falling behind in terms of higher education, and women are surpassing them. And the driver's license one was the craziest thing to me because that is such an indicator of a lack of, a literal drive to have independence, a drive to be able to go take a girl out on a
First thing, this doesn't actually prove what you think it would prove. I would have to see what the women's rate of driver's license is to know a little more. Could just be that the economy is not doing great. Could be that people are living in urbanized cities more. Could mean that that people are carpooling more. People are relying on kind of a collective car usage. All it could mean is that the economy is not doing great and people are relying more on public transportation because of where they live. Doesn't necessarily say anything about drive. It doesn't necessarily prove that these people aren't getting them because, well, they're just demotivated and they're, too busy playing League of Legends with a hoodie in their room. You know what I mean? It doesn't actually mean that. I mean, unless you have a bit more data to kind of point in that direction.
date and pick her up. And it's just wild to me. So I did this episode, and then I said, like, what's wrong? Like, what is happening? And it was kind of a call to action of, if you feel like you are falling into any of these traps or you're part of these statistics, like, I'm just letting you know you're not alone, but there also is room to, you can change course. You can change your life. These are small things. Like, it's really not that hard to go get a driver's license. That is taking a huge step in your life.
But she's just like default assuming that everyone can like afford a car. Like, she probably grew up in the Beverly Hills of, super white, conservative, affluent, suburban America. Not everyone is in that circumstance. People are being driven towards the cities. Cities are being heavily overpopulated. The rural population is falling. The economy is going to shit. Car insurance is expensive. Gas is expensive. Trying to actually buy a car is expensive. Trying to find a used car is not easy. The car market is not great. So, for someone who's doing a commentary like Brett Cooper, I would expect some actual effective analysis of the situation, not just telling men go get a car, man, go do it. It's like, yeah, they know that. Like, men know that cars give them freedom and cars would be nice. So if they already know that cars are nice things to have, then why aren't they already getting cars? Right? So just telling them to go get cars is kind of useless. As if the problem with men is that they just need Brett Cooper to tell them and motivate them to go get a car. Right? So do you see how like silly and naive the very tradcon conservative position on this? And they do the same thing with marriage, I find. They do this where they're like, yeah, well, you can do it. Just go find the good woman. They're out there. Just go do it. It's this like boomer parent mentality of just, all right, go do it. And it's like, well, sure, but I mean, there's a lot of risk. B, there's a lot of cost. So maybe they just they don't want to incur the risk. They have other things they'd like to protect in their life and not risk the stability of their life for this one thing, like a woman. B, it could be they can't afford it. The cost is too high. So you tell them to go get a woman. You tell them to go get a car. They're like, I can't afford that. I am in debt trying to order DoorDash with a buy now, pay later scheme. I can't even afford food. Rent is going way too high. I don't have enough saved up to even cover a medical emergency. So then you tell them to go get a car. It's just, they don't have the cost for that. Third would be maybe they don't need it. Like, a lot of men are very fine in isolation. They don't need, a woman. They don't need someone, clinging onto their shoulder all the time. They don't need constant companionship or, super wholesome chungus people around them all the time. I would say I fall into that category. Like, I'm pretty self-sustaining. I don't really need. I'm generally much more like, my peace and my sanity are much more stable when I'm not dealing with a ton of people, friends, women, in general. So there's different reasons for why men are not pursuing cars or not pursuing driver's license, or women, and the naivety and what's the word? Futility. The futility of someone like Brett Cooper simply telling them, just go do it. Or Matt Walsh just telling them, oh, just go get the good one. Go do it. You can do it. Jump into the pile of gators, If you swim really fast, you might survive. Go do it. You have to get to the other side. Men are like, no, I don't want to swim in a pit of gators. I don't even need what's on the other side that much. I'm going to chill, thanks. So I find the conservatives don't do a very good job breaking down the problem or actually offering effective solutions or good advice.
I wonder if Brett Cooper had a family member that lived in the house with her that taught her how to drive a car.
Another great point, actually, that's really good, Chronic. Very subtle point to add. Getting a driver's license necessitates a lot of the time someone to actually teach you how to drive. Otherwise, you have to go into driver's ed or whatever program they have in the States. And that can cost a lot of money, especially someone who's trying to pay for college, trying to pay for various other things, who's trying to set up their life, who's maybe only making minimum wage. maybe they can't afford driver's ed, and maybe because everybody isn't having kids anymore, and the boomers are super selfish, they don't have anyone in their immediate family who can actually teach them how to drive, who can give them a beater car and uh, teach them how to drive. So, once again, very good point. This points back again to the destruction of the family unit and why a lack of, used cars, but also family members, because everyone used to have larger families, etc., and parents and community that actually wanted to help their youth, they can no longer even find someone to teach them how to get a driver's license. So, very good point, Chronic.
What if your family's too poor to afford a car? What if there's no girls that want to date you, so why would you need a car?
True as well. What's the point of a car in a society where everything is digital and online? All your friends are online. You spend way more time online than the previous generations. You want to go buy food, but the food is all expensive. So there's no food to go buy. There's no women who actually want to go on dates with you. They're all on Tinder. So once again, the digitization of our society means that the incentive to get a car is much less. Back in the 80s, where you actually had to go meet somewhere if you wanted to interact with your friends, the incentive was a lot higher. But now you don't actually need a car to have a sufficient friend group or social interaction, right? Plus, everyone lives in big cities. I think that's important as well. So, very good point. Once again, Chronic. This is actual analysis. Like me and Chronic are over here doing actual analysis, trying to look at what has changed in society that might cause this. Can we revert those underlying changes or create a new solution, right? But here we have Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, and Brett Cooper, and they just seem to think that the only solution is just to motivate men to pursue traditionalism or just shove them encouragingly towards, a car or towards marriage. And it's like, well, you're not understanding that those technologies, those solutions, those life decisions and life paths are no longer meta. They're no longer appropriate to the environment that we now live in. Because men in Gen Z and Gen Alpha live in a very digitized, very urban, very, individualistic, very different economy. So, yeah, it's just annoying because these trads don't really know any of what they're doing. And if you run a show, I would expect some like actual meaningful analysis to play. But yeah, like Brett is just assuming that it has to do with men being demotivated. Men are just lazy and they're too busy playing video games and jerking off. It's like, no, this is the trad dilemma. Is whenever a man isn't succeeding, they go, oh, it must be because he's just a lazy shithead. Right? Like, ignore incentives, ignore environment, ignore parenting, ignore how all of society is completely different. Ignore how there's all these predatory industries that exist specifically to lure men into, I don't know, depression, medication, addiction, vice, gambling. Like, ignore all of that, all the predatory institutions that are out there, the complete transformation of our society into something hostile towards men. Ignore all of that. It must be because he's lazy, right? So this is why men don't like the traditional movement. This is why men like Andrew Tate. This is why people like Red Pill. They prefer people like Fuentes over, Matt Walsh, just because they don't like being lectured by some, affluent suburban white hippie American boomer being told, just go do it, I did it. It's this like a super ignorant, arrogant, dismissive mindset, and men are tired of that. They're tired of being lectured at and just told, you just need to try harder, just go do it, you're not motivated enough, go take a girl on a date, get off your screen. It's just, they're tired of that, and you're not understanding that we live in a different society, and that's what I would expect you to analyze if you were actually doing a good show.
What if you work from your computer? so you don't need a car to go to work. No, it's just get a license, because in her soul, it's, I wouldn't date you if you don't have a license.
That's another good point. Like, the only real thing she said was that, how are you going to take a girl on a date if you don't have a car? This is the idea that Brett's experience with men is men have license, they take me on date. Like, she has no frame of reference for understanding men outside of the interactions that she's had with men. Like, I wouldn't look at a woman and be like, oh, a woman is only doing things to be sexually attractive to me, right? Obviously, as men, we can understand, yeah, women have lives. They have a family, they have a mom they love and want to take care of. Maybe they have a pet. Like, they have a life and a system outside of, like, wanting to take me on a date. So as soon as you, Brett Cooper, say, oh, come on, guys, get a license. How are you supposed to take a girl on a date? You're revealing to everybody that your primary understanding of men is through a lens of yourself. And being like, oh, why don't you get a license so you can take me on a date? Because that's what I would find attractive, and that's what I would want. And what good is a man if he can't take a woman like me on a date?
And clearly, everybody's goal should be to date me. That's what it is for most of these online political chicks. Most chicks is, you should do X, Y, and Z, because then I would be more open to dating you, and the men I'm open to dating are good people, because only good people. Because if you aren't a good person, you won't be interested in me. I guess that's how it works, right? Crazy.
And getting even just like a part-time job is a great thing to add to your life, especially as a young man, to encourage, independence and responsibility.
You also think like they don't know that. You think like men don't know that it's more responsible or it's more sexy if a man has a job and a car. They know that. So why aren't they doing it yet? Right? Because of the system and because of other factors that need to be brought into the discussion.
And I have never seen an angrier comment section. I mean, it was like
Okay, so attack them by saying, well, you're angry, right? You're an incel. It's just the conservative, it's the feminist line of thinking, line of argumentation, just dressed up in conservatism. You should get a car so you can date me, and if you disagree, you're just angry, you're in my comment section, you're an incel, right? So this is the condescension of these women who are actually just feminists disguised as conservatives.
I was heartbroken.
Who's commenting, men or women?
Men. It was all of the men, and they
What
were
were they saying?
Shut up, bitch. That's what we were saying.
Look at these meek sycophants, by the way. Look at his goofy Casio watch. his like half beard, his 5 o'clock shadow. And look how like meek and timid and like, oh yeah, Brett, go ahead. You're right, Brett. Go, yeah, whatever you say. Like, who are these bimbos? These are not real people. These are just there to like racket ball off of whatever Brett says. This is weird. Like, who the fuck are these weird fucks?
Shut up, bitch. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. No excuses. No excuses. We don't want to hear it. You're rich. Like Brett Cooper.
Another good point. Men don't want to be lectured from the ivory tower of affluent suburban white woman with a multi-million subscriber channel and, you know, a media platform bringing in thousands and thousands of dollars, working for the fucking Daily Wire. Like, men don't want to be lectured and told what to do from like this like affluent, super insulated, you know, this woman who like, oh yeah, I guess I get to be an actor now, and I guess I get to go on the Daily Wire, and I get to meet all these rich, attractive men and go to parties, and I get to buy a car when I'm 15. Dee-lee-lee. It's like men don't want to be lectured by like a princess. Sorry. Like, that's another thing. It's like audience mismatch much. Like, you should be making makeup tutorials for other women, or you should be, you know, hanging out with other tradcons. Like, the reason red pill men don't connect with you is because they don't want to be lectured by a fucking ivory tower, affluent suburban princess. That's not, they don't like that. They don't want to be told what to do from someone who's never had to do anything difficult in her life, never had to go through anything brutal. Someone they can't relate with at all.
Growing up in the U.S. as a skinny, rich little white girl, has probably had one of the most privileged existences in human history. And then she's just like, oh, you guys are doing bad. Well, I know what you guys can do. Just my bootstrap.
They were so, you don't understand us.
You don't understand young men. You have been one of the...
And this speaks into, once again, why conservative, actually traditional Christian women should not be telling men what to do. Because men live a very different life from what women live. And you can go work a job, and you can role play as a man, but you'll never be a man. You'll never actually know what it's like to actually be a man, especially if you're someone like Brett Cooper, who is insulated with affluence and money and has pretty girl privilege and all this and that. Like, yeah, you will not know what it means to be a man, and that's why a lot of the time the Bible and traditional Christianity prescribes women to not tell men what to do, because they're not in men's shoes. They don't have the responsibility that men do, and they just don't get men. They don't understand men in the same kind of way.
Look at the privilege.
It's like inappropriate. It's like a child telling a man what to do. There's just something wrong about it. It's something against nature. Like, God was like, okay, this is wrong. Like, women should not be telling men how to live their lives. There's just something deeply wrong about it, and that's why the actual traditionals, kind of mandated that. But clearly, Brett Cooper doesn't care about that. So this is why people like Brett Cooper are not actually traditional, and they don't actually toe a traditional line. They toe an aesthetic of traditionalism, wrapped up in liberalism and first wave feminism, under the guidance of Ben Shapiro. Do you think Ben Shapiro is actually conservative? No, because what does that actually mean to be conservative? It means to be Christian. That's right. And it means to be white. That's right. Actual conservatism doesn't just mean, oh, I believe in the free market. I believe in economic liberalism. I believe in, homesteading. No, no, that's not what that means, right? And it's not even that hard to see. Like, I'm only 20-something. I haven't forgotten what the traditional ethos was for my grandparents. I didn't forget. I know that they would be horrified by what they see women posting on Instagram nowadays. Absolutely horrified. They'd say every single one of these women is a whore. They'd call Brett Cooper right here a whore. So you're nothing like the actual traditionals, and the fact that you are the spokespeople for, supposed to be traditionals on the internet is quite astounding.
Dude. I'm just adopting old woke verbiage now. Look at the privilege, man. On average, how many people out of 100 people, how many people would help out someone that looks like this, that needs help in public? Take 100 random people and have someone who looks like Brett, just looks like this, walk up to them and ask for help. How many want to help them? Compare that to yourself.
This is you're so awful. Why would you say this about us? You don't understand what it's like to be a man in 2022. I mean, so angry, which is so ironic, because I would also do episodes about that, or like that, about women. Talking about, women moving increasingly to the left, women and their promiscuity, women leaning into feminism, whatever it might be. And they were all for it. And the women were all...
Okay, well, this actually reveals something. So pay attention closely to what she said. She said, oh, I don't understand men, but listen, I said all these things about women. So she's giving away the traditional game actually right here with what she's saying. She's saying, if I just say enough anti-feminist things, then you should listen to me. Didn't I say enough anti-feminist, anti-liberal, anti-woke slop for you to uh, trust me, for you to listen to what I say? Am I not credible enough with you? So very important what she's saying there. She's saying that I am intentionally trying to build up credibility with the young male base by saying I don't like feminism, by saying I don't like woke, saying I don't like the liberals, and then I expect you to listen to me when I want to lecture you about how to be a man. That's exactly what she did right there. And her mind was like, wait, but I say anti-feminism. Why don't you listen to me? Right? Notice exactly. And that is what the conservative base does. That is what republicanism does. It builds up a bunch of credibility, trying to attack low-hanging fruit. And then it wants to subvert you into the plantation and tell you how to think about men. So pay attention.
For
No,
it.
it maybe because it's coming from a woman.
I know, I think
Whereas
that's
if you
what
have a
it was.
guy that's like
Yes.
hating on girls online,
Yeah.
every girl's like, "Oh my god, I'm not gonna," you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's true. But then if
Now look what she did. This dumb sycophant said, he said, oh, it's because you're a woman and they're just misogynist, and if it was coming from a man and he said the exact same thing, then they wouldn't listen. No, because a man wouldn't say the stupid retarded bullshit that you said. He wouldn't just say, go get a license so you can date women. I don't know anybody that would say that aside from the Daily Wire goobers. I don't know anybody. What man would look at another man and be like, hey man, you gotta get your license so you gotta date a woman, man. Completely ignorant of bro's circumstance, ignorant of how the world works. He just like, you know what you need to do, man? You need to just my bootstrap. You just need to try harder, man. No man would say that. So if it was coming from a man, we would also go, okay, shut up, boomer. What the fuck do you know? Like, yeah, you don't get it, clearly. Like, we would say it to a man as well, that this man is ignorant and he doesn't know what he's talking about. So this is just dumb. And this is like when conservatives have bad arguments, what do? They turn into the left. They say, oh, you're a misogynist. You don't like women. If it was a man, you would have listened. So my comment section is a bunch of evil misogynists who just disregard what I say because I'm a woman. No. It's like, no, because your position is stupid. Men don't like your position because your position is stupid. And I think it's stupid because you're a woman, right? That's part of it. But it's because your position is stupid, not because you're a woman. Although the reason your position is stupid might be because you're a woman. But anyway.
Yeah, probably most of them. But the chicks that appreciate dudes that curl, the chicks that like guys with weapons, the chicks that like guys who are bigoted, they hit me up in the DMs. I'm trying to date Chronic. It's funny. I don't think Chronic will ever date them, but I'm trying to date Chronic. But dude, look at these two guys. Like, what's their podcast about? Iced coffee hour clips. I don't even know what that is. They got Brett Cooper here. Okay? And she's going to talk about how men need to do better.
if it's a guy hating on guys, like, oh, you're fat, you're this, you're that, the guys are like, oh, okay, you're right. You know?
So that was the part that I didn't even consider, because it's like, I do the show every day. I talk about these things. We talk about, societal ills and problems, and did not consider the fact that this was coming from a young woman. And also just like, no, like, especially at the time, like, I wasn't publicly with anybody. I wasn't married. I think that I was somebody that a lot of these guys probably looked to and liked.
That's a wild thing to say. That's a wild thing. That's a crazy thing to say. She's basically saying, yeah, they only listen to me because they want to date me. I mean, she's probably not wrong. That's a crazy thing to say about your audience. Be like, yeah, my audience is a bunch of simps. And so as soon as I said something they didn't like, they just turned into angry incels. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's the story of every single TradCon online. You're a pseudo.
Which is why traditionalism would be against you having a platform, because of that exact reason. Because what you're actually doing is you're just harnessing a bunch of simps. And real traditionals would be like, okay, we know what you're doing. You're just showing your shoulders on camera. And then the talking is just the pretense. So maybe don't do that.
Sex object. You're like, you're like an AI girlfriend. Really, that's what you are. You're doing the job an AI girlfriend. Brett Cooper her market value is going to tank once AI girlfriends get decent. Because someone's just going to be like, hey, make me a girlfriend who is 21. She was raised in a rural community. She has red hair and freckles. She has a southern accent, burns easy, is interested in fishery sciences and or marine science, but is still living local. And she is a hardcore right-wing fascist, and she wants to talk about politics with me as we go fishing. Boom. Neuralink that straight to the brain. That, or watch a Brett Cooper video about how you are a bad person for using their Neuralink AI girlfriend. I mean, I'm not saying what you should choose. I'm not saying what's a good use of your time. I'm just saying once men have the option to hang out in a virtual space with an AI girlfriend who is programmed to actually, quote unquote, love, whatever that means, love them, there's going to be no demand for this.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem with a lot of these traditionals and why the traditional quote-unquote conservative movement has not been winning over the decades. It's been constantly receding ground to the left, always on the defense, is because it's not sophisticated enough. It's not true, right? People like Fuentes, who actually say it how it is, who are saying what's real and true, they're winning because they're not lying, they're not operating under a false pretense, they're not trying to cajole both sides. So the problem with a lot of these conservatives is exactly the situation that Chronic kind of pointed out, which is men don't want to be browbeaten, they don't want to be lectured, and as society gets worse, as girlfriends are harder to find, and there's technology out there that can, satiate a lot of men, or it's very appealing to a lot of men, we're going to have conservatives like Brett Cooper just finger waggling and lecturing men. Oh, you're so evil for using an AI girlfriend. That's anti-human. That's this and that. And at the end of the day, it's like men have to make decisions for themselves. And it's like, am I going to be alone? And am I going to try to pursue a woman who hates me? A woman who rejects me 99% of the time? Or am I going to adapt to the environment that I'm in and take what I can get? Because eventually men are going to have to, their nobility that you're trying to appeal to, their traditional spirit, is only going to last so long without anything grounding. If it's really not grounded in something more meaningful like Christ, or something like something more profound, like saving your nation, saving your race, saving your people, saving your family, defending your religion, serving God. If it's not grounded in something like that, which Ben Shapiro would never fucking allow any of these Daily Wire losers to fucking promulgate, then there's no incentive really for men to be noble and give themselves up for the sake of traditionalism. Well, I like it old-fashioned. Like, you're appealing to a bunch of boomers. Like, that type of rhetoric is not going to work on Gen Z who actually have to live in the trenches. So, yeah, once again, I think let me summarize. I think the traditional movement today is very hollow. I think if it's not grounded directly in faith in God and Christianity, and traditional Christianity in tradition itself, then it has no legs to stand on. I think Gen Z can sense that. They can sense the inauthenticity, the contradiction in claiming to be conservative on the side of conservative traditional men, but also having a woman lecture us on what it means to be a man and having her shoulders out, in front of this corporate backdrop. So I think men can sense that, and they disengage from that, whereas the red pill is telling men how it is. Women like this, women like rich men, women like tall men, women like successful men, women like confident men. Women don't like male feminists. women don't like submissive little bitches, right? The red pill will say it how it is. And I think the red pill doesn't encapsulate everything. I think there's a faith portion that the red pill kind of misses. Gets subverted by figures like Fresh and Fit, who push materialism and sleeping with 50 women, and Andrew Tate even. That becomes the face of the red pill. So there's problems with the red pill too, but I think at least the red pill is being honest towards men, and it's being real with them about the situation with women. Whereas conservatism is holding to an ideal, at the expense of men against their interest, with no legs to stand on, with no actual credibility. A hollow snake. So that's why I am not quote unquote traditional, is because this is not real traditionalism. You know what is? I mean, I would say orthodoxy. I would say actual patristic teaching. The women should not be lecturing men. They should not be speaking out in public. They should be at home. They shouldn't be voting. They shouldn't be out working, in a big corporation without permission from their husband. There's a lot of things that these women are not ready for. There's actual traditional prescriptions for women that Brett Cooper is not ready for. She wants a 1960s traditionalism where they're actually just liberal, but slowly moving more, liberal. She wants the boat when it's unmoored from the anchor, but is still in the water enough to be safe before it's crashed into the shore. That's really what the conservative movement is now. As soon as it threw away God, as soon as it unmoored itself from its anchor, which was the faith, it started drifting. And they're like, well, I don't like the anchor because the anchor is constrictive, and that's misogynistic and it hurts women. But I also like being out in the water. So what can I do? Well, I'm going to promote the lifestyle of that time, which was like 1960, 1950, where people didn't have to, follow the faith, but they could still coast off of the fruits of a traditional culture. And that's really what they're tapping into, Brett Cooper and the likes. But it's a contradiction, because you can't be a boat unmoored from its anchor without eventually crashing into the shore, right? So it's a contradictory position. I think young men, Gen Z, can sense that, and that's why the conservative movement is losing.
We're going to be replaced across everything. The AI girlfriends are going to replace them all over the internet. It's going to replace them on OnlyFans. So it's just like, hey, ladies, get your overalls. Let's go. Start working. Start chopping.
And to have like this figure in your life turn around and say, hey, if you don't have a driver's license, you should probably get your.
And the conservative movement is only going to continue dying, because as new technologies come out that cement the transition, like AI girlfriends, at that point it's going to be like, okay, why LARP as a traditional person when there is no remnant of the traditional society left? It just becomes absurd. Like, why would I turn down all of these opportunities, and why would I uphold something that doesn't exist anymore? So as society continues to progress, and technology and the culture continues to evolve socially and become more liberal, there becomes less and less reminder and incentive to uphold conservatism and traditionalism. And so the people who do that are, the only reason they're going to do that is because of faith. And that's really going to be all that's left, which is kind of good in a sense, because we're going to divide people. There's going to be people who fully give in to the liberal culture, kind of the postmodern, hyper technocratic, culture. You're going to be drawn that way, or you're going to be drawn to God. And it's going to separate the wheat from the chaff, as the boat either crashes into the shore or you hold tight to the anchor, right? So it's good in a way. It's going to point out the wheat from the chaff. It's going to bring the community of the faithful together as they realize that they're the only ones left fighting against, the tide of progressivism. The whole New World Order type thing gets slowly instantiated. But yeah, this conservatism, this fake, sycophantic, hollow conservatism is not working anymore, and channels are dying. Jordan Peterson is dying. Ben Shapiro is dying. Brett Cooper is dying. Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh are dying. Even Catholicism itself is dying because it's making a fool of itself. It's contradicting itself. Gen Z can sense that a lot of the time. You can trick yourself and post these, Crusades edits. Like, the Crusades edits are only going to last for so long until people realize that the church is actually just blessing blocks of ice and promoting ecumenism and making Muslim prayer rooms. And you can cope and say that isn't what the faith is, but if that's consistently what it is for centuries, if the church for decades and centuries is just popes kissing the Quran and promoting ecumenism and promoting open borders, then that's going to be what your faith is. You're going to be appealing to something that doesn't exist anymore. There is no traditional Catholicism anymore. It's dying in real time. It's a fringe corner of a fringe heretical corner of Catholicism. And as the New World Order gets instantiated, as the popes become compromised even more, then you're going to be in a dilemma, Catholics, where you have to say, okay, what am I holding on to? I'm holding on to a faith that's divorced from what it actually is now, which is the Pope. If the Pope is the center of your faith, then if the Pope becomes liberal and you're still Catholic, then you're not really Catholic anymore. You're not really Catholic anymore if you don't follow the Pope in his new liberal, open borders, Gaudium et Spes agenda. You're just going to lose. And so you're going to say, I have to revert to something that is actually traditional, and what's it going to be? It has to be an active, living, breathing faith. It can't just be an ideal of what Catholicism used to be, which is exactly what we're seeing with the conservatives. The conservatives want to hold on to an ideal of what used to be, but you can't do that because that is going to fade away. It's disintegrating in real time. And so you have to cling back to the anchor of what is real, which is, for me, I think that's actual, like the solution to conservatism is faith in God, upholding actual traditional Christian values through something grounded, anchored in the faith. Not just because you feel like it, not just because you want to LARP as a 1950s trad wife and husband, because you feel like it, because you like the aesthetic of a sundress and a suit. No, because it's in the Bible and it's prescribed by the everlasting God, right? That's gonna hold up a lot better than aesthetic and whimsical nostalgia, right? So, and the same thing is going to be true with faith. People are going to have to revert back to something that's actually true, something that actually is anchored and doesn't change, as the illusion, as the fantasy or the remnants, the residue of traditionalism without its anchor slowly fades away. Anyway, okay, I think this is done. Let me know what you guys thought. That's kind of my position on the so-called trad movement. I think a lot of it is performative. It's not real. It's not anchored in anything real. Red Pill is anchored in something more shallow, which is just biology. It's just explaining to you how men and women operate as creatures, which is not incompatible with real faith, because we can acknowledge that there is a biological reality to how women work. Women want resources. They want security. That doesn't conflict with the Christian faith at all. All we do with the Christian faith is we say there's more to it. Man has a biological element to him, but he has a higher purpose. He has something higher than just sex and hypergamy to pursue. That's what women are called to through the faith, and that's what also men are called to. So let me know what you guys thought. Give me your comments down below. And yeah, we'll hopefully get some more content for you guys coming up soon over the winter season. All right, take care, everyone.